From the OU TV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. Today, House Democrats filed a lawsuit in federal court seeking access to President Trump's tax returns. Now, they consider the stonewalling of the tax return matter to be an extraordinary attack on Congress. It's time to disclose the president's personal financial records. Now, this comes after months and months of feuding with the administration over the returns. Now, give up the goods, Trump. It's really extraordinary that he didn't have to reveal these returns before the 2016 election, like every other past candidate for the last 50 years. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig, who have denied Democrats' demands for the returns, are named as defendants. Now, Jay Sekulow, an attorney for Trump, said in a statement, "We will respond to this latest effort at presidential harassment in court." Now, legal experts say that this might go all the way to the Supreme Court. This move also intensifies the expanding conflict over the range of oversight questions between Congress and the Trump administration, which has continually invoked the privilege of refusing to appear for subpoenas and turn over documents. Now, House Democrats and legal experts have pointed to the 1924 law that explicitly gives lawmakers the authority to seek tax records. This lawsuit is expected to take a while and could continue into 2020. Yesterday, the news broke that there is this super special private Facebook group for border agents, and now scandal has sparked a federal investigation about the flood of racist, sexist, and sexually violent memes about immigrants and government officials that's been documented in that said Facebook group of border agents. It's basically like if your super toxic group text with your bros just got the feds' eyes all over it. The quote-unquote locker room's not so private anymore, and it's all been documented with your personal information next to every toxic entry. Thanks to Facebook. Oops to the doops. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection official called the Facebook's group's posts disturbing and started the official investigation. ProPublica broke the story yesterday after penetrating the secret Facebook group. The posts on the private group, which says it is for current and former Border Patrol agents, includes jokes about the deaths of migrants, sexually explicit images edited to feature AOC, and xenophobic comments. This ProPublica report came on the very same day that congressmen and women were visiting the detention centers and escalated the distrust that's cultivating between Congress and the CBP. Congress is responsible for oversight of these, well, let's call it what it is. They are for-profit concentration camps of migrants who have been separated from their families, and they're being held in inhumane conditions. The Facebook group confirmed some of the worst fears of the, CBP behavior. These agents are entrusted with the lives of the most vulnerable in their custody, while they spout out vulgar, xenophobic, and sexist comments. CBP is a central component of the Trump administration's attempts to staunch the flow of migrants on the U.S.-Mexico border. The Customs and Border Patrol officers are forbidden by law to make any discriminatory statements, even on social media. So maybe they're going to be in trouble? When Trump was overseas at the G20 summit, he was asked by a young reporter what his thoughts were on Western liberal democracy. Now, this was in response to a comment from Vladimir Putin about how liberal democracies around the world are becoming obsolete and authoritarians are on the rise. Now, Trump decided instead to focus the answer to this question squarely on California. Now, many pundits and reporters are laughing out loud. "Oh, Mr. Trump, you don't know what the liberal democracy means. You think it means California. Oh, what an idiot." Well, as a California reporter out here on the front lines, Brief News Brief is not so sure that Trump is as big a dummy as most analysts will have you believe. Trump has said, Trump said this to a reporter in response to the decline of Western liberalism. You look at what's happening in Los Angeles, where it's so sad to look, and what's happening in San Francisco and a couple other cities, which are running by an extraordinary group of liberal people. I don't know what they're thinking. Now, Trump followed up on this comment with an interview with Tucker Carlson yesterday saying, "So we're looking at it very seriously. We may intercede. We may do something to get that whole thing cleaned up. It's inappropriate. Now we have to take the people and do something. We have to do something." Now, it's not entirely clear what Trump's plan is to intercede and do something about what's happening in California, but what is for sure true is what's happening in California, in Los Angeles and San Francisco. It's a real homeless epidemic in cities run completely by democracies, democratic governments. Now, while this question is being asked locally, it can be also thought of as just a massive problem beyond politics that needs to be tackled. It's not like Republicans in California are clamoring with plans to fix it. What's interesting, and worth pointing out if you ask me, is that as soon as Kamala Harris started surging in the polls and directly after Trump's meeting with Putin, suddenly his sights were fixed on a political firestorm conversations that are happening in local communities in California. He has, or should I say, Putin has already found his favorite divisive issue to try to use to sow division and cause confusion, to paint a portrait of California and to link that to Kamala Harris, as if she created the disaster. Governor Gavin Newsom was quick to point out today that the economic success that Trump takes credit for is centralized in California and is happening concurrently with the rise of homelessness. I think Donald Trump should be pointing out the reason that he got a 2.9% GDP growth was thanks in large part to the strength of California's economy, which is principally emanating from the San Francisco Bay Area and the Los Angeles region. Putin had been in the past years behind a long-running campaign to try to get a popular vote to break up the state of California into 3 states, much like Russia backed the operation known as Brexit in Europe. The initiative initially made the California ballot and then was squashed off of it since they found out it was run by a foreign campaign, and that's, not allowed. We all must be very careful in this election season. There is a lot on the line, like the entire future of free democracy and a possible totalitarian uprising in the USA. Putin is in Trump's ear, and he is the master of petty disputes and election meddling. If you hear Trump say California, listen close, because he's probably testing jabs and a misinformation campaign of talking points at possible future opponent Kamala Harris.